Hello there everyone, this is Phantom Duos here, and today I'm going to be doing What If Deku was sent to the 7 Deadly Sins world, part 4. Yeah, part 4. So in today's part 4, I'm going to be starting the King arc, or Bond and Elaine and King. So in this arc, it'll be mostly everything about King and Bond, and the history of Elaine and everything else. So we're going to start where Bond was sleeping. He hears Hawk yelling out his name, saying to wake up, you lazy fox. Because since Bond is the since Bond basically is basically Bond the undead, or Bond the sin of greed, Hawk decided to call him wake up, you lazy fox. So then when Bond was sleeping, he gets an image of a girl with blonde hair looking at him. As Bond then says, Elaine, waking up again. Then Bond goes downstairs to the 7 Deadly Sins as he says, yo, Captain. Then Elizabeth says, Sir Bond, are you gonna come eat with us? Then Bond said, I don't think I'm gonna eat Captain's horrible food, do you? Then Meliodas says, it's not really my cooking, it's Izuku's. As Bond then said, well then, I'm trying it. Then after Bond did that, he tried it and was actually pretty impressed. He was actually pretty happy to do that. So then Meliodas said, well Bond, you see? Not everyone's cooking is that bad. Then Bond said, yeah right. Your cooking is the worst. Then Meliodas said, ha! Shut up, you lazy undead. As Izuku then says, I'm an undead as well. Then Bond laughs at Meliodas and says, so you call both of us lazy. Then we go to where Meliodas and everyone reach a random town. Yeah, they basically they reach a town where Bond is going to be meeting the kids from the anime. As Bond went in there, he said, Then Meliodas, when he told Hawk's mother to stand still, they got into their chair and they got their tavern ready. As Meliodas still did the same thing in the anime, he said Elizabeth will be in the thing, we'll get the people, everything just went into the anime. Then it was then it was Izuku. Izuku said Meliodas said that Izuku would be the cooker with Bond. As Bond said no. Then when Meliodas looked, Bond disappeared. As Izuku said, I'll go look for him. As everyone else went to look for Bond as well. Bond instantly was attacked by a kid. A kid with let me say, how could I explain? He was attacked by a kid who was basically a version of King, but skinnier and more younger. Before that happened, Bond found a girl who was in the ground, dying from looking at her like she was starving. As Bond decided to help the girl to wake up, but then the brother of the girl attacked Bond. As Bond said, as the sister of the kid said, sorry sir, please don't. Then Then the kid looked at Bond as Bond said, "Well, kid, you think this is a sin to repay? Let's talk about something. Real sins, as many times you try to repay for them, you can't repay them with any type of work." Then a spear went behind Bond. Then King said, "Good to see you, Bond." Or should I say, Bond, the sin of greed. And good to hear that you actually understand the meaning of true sins. As Bond looked at this kid and said, "Who are you?" Then Bond then then King said, "Oh, it's so sad to see that you don't remember me, your old friend." As Bond then says, "What do you mean?" But then King basically stabbed the spear through Bond. Then Bond then basically King decided to shoot another attack at Bond, which Bond then dodged them all midair. As then we continue. Then after a few moments, but before Bond could do his final attack to grab this quote-unquote king, Izuku hit Bond on the head and said, "Yo, we were looking for you. And Captain is very disappointed in you." Then King was wondering, who is this? As Meliodas appeared with Bond saying, appeared next to Izuku saying, "Izuku, where's Bond?" As Bond up next to Izuku. Then Izuku said, "Bond disappeared. I'm going to quickly pause." So yeah, sorry, I'm back. I was talking to someone. So then Bond looked at Izuku and said, "Izuku, why would you hit me?" Meliodas appeared and said, "Because you left the tavern and left us without any help." As Bond said, "Captain, you already know. I'm looking for for King." As Meliodas looked at the person in front of them, then Meliodas said, "Isn't that King?" Then Diane appeared and said, "Yes, that looks like King." Then King said, "Diane?" But when Diane heard that, she was like, "King!" As Bond's eyes went wide and said, "You're telling me that kid is King?" Then then Izuku said, "You want me to show you an image of King when he's not around you?" But before Izuku could do that, he was attacked by a king, saying, "Wait." Then King said, "How do you know that much about me?" Then Meliodas said, "King, don't hurt the kid. He's part of the seven deadly sins now. Or should I say he's the eighth sin." Then after a few days, then after that, King kept attacking Izuku, but Izuku just dodged it all in an instinct, making it look like King's movements are really slow. Then we continue. After a few seconds, King then decided to leave. Then we go to where Izuku and Bond make a meal for the kids. Make a meal for them. Then after that, the meal, Bond said, "It's time for some give and take. Can you tell me about this Metropolis?" As both of the kids say, "Oh, so you're looking for her as well? That kid that fought you was looking for us too." Then Meliodas said, "Huh? So King is looking for the Metropolis as well." Then after a few moments, Bon asked, and what else do you know about the Metropolis? And the little girl of the kid who stabbed Bon said that the only way to get to the Metropolis is if you have connected feelings towards towards the person you're looking for. So then Bon pats the girl on the head and then by mistake says Elaine. So then we skip a few hours later. Bon and everyone else were just looking around. They were looking around in world. They were just looking around in the abandoned town. When they did that, Bon suddenly got to a circle in the middle, of nowhere. As Bon started to think about Elaine and the history they had at his back. So we then go back to Bon's imagination, as we see Bon's mindscape. We then see Bon climbing up a tree, as he says, "Just a tip in your tongue, you live 10 years more. Half a sip and you live. Half a sip, you live for 100 years." I don't know how to sing the song correctly, but then Bon says, "You drink it all and you live forever." As he then gets to the forest, then he says, "Huh, doesn't seem like there's any guardian." But then Bon sees a little girl in the middle of it. Then he says, "Is this the great guardian?" As Bon then Bon hears this girl says, "Get out of here, you human." Then she swings one, sending out a burst of magic towards the kid. Towards Bon, who sends Bon flying, but Bon lands in a tree. As after a few moments, Bon starts climbing again, as he says, "Just a tip in your tongue and you live more." I just see I can't really sing the song that Bon sing. But then he says, "A full drink it all and you live forever." Then he gets to the tower again. But then Elaine gets annoyed and she then asks, "How are you not dying?" As then Bon said, "Oh, I don't know." And yes, this is the part where Elaine had a Bon tied up. As Bon then says, "Okay, now it's my turn." He then summons out his sacred gear, which is really not his sacred gear. As Bon then takes the holy, how do you call it, Fairy King's water, which will grant you immortal life. Then Bon looks at the girl and says, "Huh, this doesn't smell the same as booze, but it's good for my health." Izuku, then Bon keeps dreaming about this, but then Elaine grabs Bon. And ties him up with a lot of tree branches. As Elaine says, "I am tired of telling you about these humans. That if you drink this water, the whole Fairy King forest will no longer exist. How about you just go and leave?" As he then Bon said, "Okay, I'll leave." Then Elaine said, "Do you think I'm stupid?" Then after a few moments of Elaine thinking, she reads Bon's mind and sees that Bon said, "Man, I really wanted to try out some of those berries that are up the tree. I heard that those are used for booze." So then we see Bon getting yelled by the ant, saying that those flowers don't combine them. Then the ant yells out, "Elizabeth, you come see this." Then the captain, Izuku, and Elizabeth get there. After a few moments of that, then a tornado of those pink flowers started to form around it. Bon and Izuku looked at each other and said, "Did you do something?" As Izuku said, Even though I have immense power, I can do this. Izuku then says, "Yeah, I'm trying my hardest not to, not to start lying, but I actually can't do this." Sent us straight to the Metropolis, saying this in his head. Then after a few moments, of Izuku and Bon thinking, Bon and Izuku were technically were then started to look around as they were inside of a place full of crystals. When Izuku says, "Wait, wait, why is this going like this? I feel like there's something wrong." But then Bond sees a figure that looks like Elaine, as he said, "Elaine," as he says, "Elaine." But King was already there. As King saw that, he said, you're not getting away from me this time, Bond." As Izuku then said, "Oh God, accelerate." He appears right next to King, but then he says ability ghost, or he basically says ghost, which then the ability makes Izuku body and magic not be able to be sensed. He keeps following Bon and King as the other seven deadly sins had to face off against a holy knight who used a weird life and death type of trick to stand her soul to the life and to the death world, the people of the dead world. So then Izuku and was watching the fight between him and Bon. So after the fight between King and Bon. King trapped Bon, and Bon, when King said that there's a way to actually kill your immortality, Bon, right? Bon then said, there actually. Then Bon said, "No, there isn't. I am immortal." As he then Izuku was like, "This is going bad. We should use an ability that it's only for making people get knocked out." Not knocked out, but for people that can make beasts turn into cement, and they're gonna have to spend their whole life inside of a permanent statue. As Izuku then say, "I'll watch this for a little bit more longer," but then King suddenly stabs it into Bon, not making Bon go into a cement type of look, not being able to move anymore. Smiling at King, but then King said, "Poor for you, a soul that will never get to go to the afterlife or die." So then after that speech, Bond then gets kissed by a spirit who happens to appear to nowhere. When that spirit kissed Bond, the cement disappeared, making Bond say, "Hello, Elaine." When that was said, King said, "Elaine, is that you? Please, show yourself to me too." Then Izuku comes out of nowhere and says, "There's no way you're able to see spirits, right? My name is Izuku. My name is Izuku the Asin, and I'm able to see spirits. And I'll tell you that girl is named Elizabeth, Elaine, your sister, right? Uh, but then, then basically, Bon looks at Izuku and said, "How can you see her? Isn't this supposed to be the life and death world?" Then Izuku said, "How about this? When something tragic happens in the near future, I will tell you how to revive a certain something." Then Bond said, "Wait, you know a way to revive As Izuku said, I didn't say I do know. I said I know a way to revive someone. So then after a few moments, Izuku looks at Bon and says, see you later, Bon. As Bon then looks at Izuku and says, you bastard, just because you have that much power, that means you can control death itself, right? And then Izuku says, life too. But not until something really important happens. I will tell you then. So don't worry about it, Bon the Undead. As then Izuku says, accelerate, goes. But then we see Meliodas in the end getting punched into a blimp. And then King was given the speech by Elaine saying to protect Bon from the evil people, from protect Bon for her until Bon finishes his promise. But Izuku was still there watching this, as Izuku said, yes, he'll complete his promise, you don't have to worry. I'll bring you back, little fairy queen, right? As Elaine then communicated through her mind, saying yes. And yes. And I know you're too powerful for your own good. Why aren't you fighting against the Holy Spirit or something? As Izuku said, I don't think I should. I promised to people to protect the people of the world, and to grant people with the power that I have a one single wish. But then Izuku said, but then Elaine says, you seem like a very nice person, as Izuku smiles and says thank you. But then Bon starts running forward to fight with King and Deanne and Meliodas. Yes, King was already given the speech much earlier. Then Izuku looks at Meliodas. Then Izuku says ghost. But then Izuku says shadow, and then gets into the shadow of the Holy Knight. Then Bon and Meliodas were getting bodied by the Holy Knight, but Izuku as well. Izuku wasn't getting bodied, as Meliodas said, "Where the heck is the 8th sin?" Then Bon was like, "If I don't see that bastard come here, I ain't going to make him into a bloody pope." Then Izuku says, "Yeah, Bon, I'm immortal. You forgot that?" Then the Holy Knight looks behind herself, and she sees that there was a sin behind her. Then she asks, "What sin are you?" As Izuku said, "I am from another world, one of those Holy Knights from the new generation, right? I heard one of your Holy Knights, Uraraka, became a new generation because she needed more power to match with her Bakukun." And yes, in this one, Uraraka and Izuku used to date, but Uraraka, over the years of not seeing Izuku, she decided to date Bakugo. And she found out that Bakugo had more power than Izuku, so she decided to get more power herself. Yeah, this is not a cheater, I know that already. As Izuku then said, I thought she was gonna be forever with me, but looks like not always all the things, not every wish will stay true. I'll find someone better. Then after a few moments, oh yeah, I forgot to say something else. The ship for this will be Elizabeth's sister, who is a goddess, quote unquote. I won't tell you who she is just yet. This is just an OC that I created. So then, after a few hours of the fight going, Izuku then says, Nebula, and combines it into his sword, which then shows a a water attack appear in the store. Then Izuku says, Nebula, water strike, striking her through the girl, sending her flying through 5 of those rocks. As Meliodas then said, "How are you?" As Izuku then sees an explosion attack coming towards Izuku. As Izuku then says, "Spear." And then King's spear appears next to Izuku. As Izuku then says, "I'm gonna need to borrow this real quick." Then King said, "Hey, how are you using it?" As Izuku then jumps on top of the spear and said, "Spirit Spear, second form, dagger." Then a million daggers appear for Izuku, and then he says, "Holy Spirit, daggers." As the daggers turn into a bright light, and they go straight towards the girl, towards the Holy Knight, damaging her, sending her back to her body. As then Izuku then says, "Spirit Spear, fifth form, whole divine spirit." As then a giant dragon blows its fire towards the Holy Knight, sending her back to her body. As Izuku then looks at King and says, "Here's your spear." My weapon is I'm gonna need to remodel it to shapeshift. Spears are gonna be useful. As his then King asks, "What's that weapon?" As Izuku said, "Oh, this is a sword. The sword of the undead, or the sword of destruction." Then King said, "Wait, what do you mean, sword of destruction?" Izuku says, "Sword of destruction is the sword that can destroy time itself. But if someone steals the sword, time will be disturbed and people can destroy it." As Izuku gets a weird stare from everyone, which makes everyone ask, "How are you? How did you get this holy sword?" As Izuku said, I am the ace. Remember, it's pretty easy to be as powerful as me. I think Escanor's ability will be easy to copy." Then King says, "Wait, did you copy my ability?" Izuku then smiles and says, "Yes. Your spirit sphere has combined into being used into me. So now I made it into my sword, which my sword will be able to shapeshift now." Then Bond says, "Are you able to use my ability Snatch?" Izuku then said, "Yes." Then Izuku pulls out his hand and says, "Snatch," snatching Bond's heart and squishing it, but it regrows. As Bond said, this kid is powerful." Then Izuku said, "But my magic will sooner or later run out. I just need to boost my reserves. And I don't only use my sword. I can use my I'm good at strength 1-on-1. My strength is basically close to yours and Meliodas combined, and some people else." Everyone was getting a detail on Izuku's abilities. Then after that, Izuku then says, now that this is over, it's time to get going." So then they leave. So thank you guys for watching. This is Anton Dewis here, and this is going to be the end of part 4 of What If Deku was sent to the 7 Deadly Sins world. Next part will be the Gother part. No, not the Gother part. Yes, the Gother. No, it's gonna be the not the yes, the end and her sword. Okay, goodbye everyone.